Hi students, in this video we will practice reading through word problems, drawing diagrams, and using sine, cosine, and tangent to solve for missing information. Let's get started. At the top of a tower, there's a wire that goes to the ground. The tower and the wire make an angle of 40 degrees. The top of the tower is 80 feet above the ground. How far is the stake from the bottom of the tower? So a tower is just a building. This is going to be our tower. And there's a wire from the top that goes to the ground. This is the ground. This is the wire. Here it says the wire, the tower and the wire make an angle. So tower and wire make an angle of 40 degrees. The top of the tower is 80 feet above the ground. So here tells us it's 80 feet above the ground. That tells us that this distance is 80 feet. When it says stake, it's talking about the point where the wire hits the ground. So now that we've drawn the diagram, we can see a right triangle in here. So I just outlined it in purple. We'll redraw it here outside. And we know that buildings are straight up and down, so that's a 90-degree angle. We know this is that blue side. Let's get rid of that purple. The angle here is 40 degrees, and we want to know how far is the stake here from the bottom of the tower. Bottom of the tower is here, so how far in between? We want to know what's this distance. So let's call this X. Now we have a right triangle with the opposite leg, the adjacent leg. Here's a hypotenuse, but we're given the adjacent, and we want to find hypotenuse. Let's use SOHCAHTOA, and let's figure out which one we should use. Adjacent and opposite, tangent. Tangent of 40 degrees, our angle, equals opposite divided by adjacent. Multiply by what we're dividing. And we check, is our variable alone? Variables alone, so now we use our calculator. So go to our calculator. We type in 80 times tangent of 40, and we get 67.12. 67.12 equals X. We'll write this in a sentence. The stake is 67.12 feet from the tower. Let's try another. A ladder is leaning against a house. So maybe the first thing we want to draw is, here's the ground. Here's my house. A ladder is the thing we climb up. And it's leaning against the house. The ladder makes an angle of 30 degrees with the ground. So ladder and ground makes a 30-degree angle. The foot of the ladder means bottom of the ladder. So here is 7 feet from the foot or bottom of the house. So this distance is 7 feet. We want to know how long is the ladder. So what is this distance? We should see a right triangle that I'm sketching out in gray here. So let's redraw it. We know this is 30 degrees. We know this is 7 feet. And we know we want to find x. So now we have our usual trig equation. Let's label opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. We know the hypotenuse and the adjacent. So COA, adjacent, hypotenuse, cosine. Cosine of 30 degrees equals adjacent divided by hypotenuse. We always multiply by what we're dividing. In this case, it's x. Then we check, is x alone? Nope. So we need to do more algebra. Divide by what? Cosine of 30. Is x alone? Yep. So now we use our calculator. So 7 divided by cosine of 30. 8.08. X equals 8.08. And then let's write a sentence. The ladder is 8.08 feet long. Okay. Let's try another problem. A house is 150 feet tall. It's a tall house. Let's put it on the ground. From the top of the house, let's make this a little bit smaller actually. There we go. From the top of the house, so if this is us on the top of the house, we can see a really big tree. The angle from the house to the tree, so we're looking up to the tree, is 65 degrees. So here we make that angle go from the person's eyes with the line from there, this horizontal line here. We call this the eye line. We want to find that doesn't make any sense. I think we need more information here. I think there's a missing sentence. Let's say we know the tree is 200 feet tall. It's a very tall tree. And we want to find this horizontal distance from the tree to the house. So we have our triangle here. And something to note, so let's draw that pink triangle. 65 degrees, x. What's this distance here? Remember, the height of the tree is 200, but that's this whole green distance. The pink distance, well, we know the house is 150 feet tall, so that's this blue distance here. So that means the pink distance here, in order for the whole thing to be 200, so 200 minus 150 equals the pink. This is going to be 50 feet. Using that, we can now use our trig to solve. We have opposite and adjacent. So we'll use tangent of 65 degrees equals 50 divided by x. Multiply by what we're dividing by, so multiply by x. Check, is x alone? Nope, it's being multiplied by tangent, so we have to divide by tangent of 65. And we get x equals 50 divided by tangent of 65. Now is x alone? Yep, so now we use our calculator. 50 divided by tangent of 65. 50 divided by tangent of 65. Get 23.31. 23.31. So the tree is 23.31 feet from the house. That one was kind of tricky. I had to add this part in because we were missing a sentence. I'm sorry about that. This is given to you. And this one was tricky because we had to do some subtraction. Let's do one more together. A person is 100 meters from a bridge. So let's draw our person. This is 100 meters away from their bridge. That's what I'm going to draw my bridge. That doesn't really look like a bridge, but that's okay. So that was this sentence. The angle from the person's eyes, so from their eyes up to the top of the bridge, is 35 degrees. So remember, just like the last problem, we draw in our eye line And this angle is going to be 35 degrees. I made it too small. The person's eyes are 5 feet above the ground. It's talking about the person's height. Find the height of the bridge. So we want to know, how tall is that bridge? So looking now at our triangle, what we might see, there we go, is that our yellow triangle is floating in air. We know that's 35. It's floating above the ground. Here's the ground. It's 5 feet above the ground, and we want to know the total height. We know this is 100 meters from our diagram. So in order to find the height, the total height, let's think about the last problem. It's going to be this green part plus this yellow part adds up to our total height. So if we can find this length x and add it to 5, we can get the total height, which we can definitely do. Here, this is the adjacent leg, all the way across, opposite leg. Opposite adjacent means we use tangent. Opposite x divided by adjacent, 35. Or not 35, 100. Sorry. We're dividing by 100, so we multiply by 100. Now we check, is x alone? Yep, it's alone, so now we use our calculator. 100 times tangent of 35. 70.02. 70.02 equals x. So our total height, the height of the bridge is, okay, let's go back here. 5 plus the x, 70.02. So 75.02. So the total height is 75.02 meters tall. So let's zoom out one more time so we can see the whole problem. Word problems are really hard. It's okay to still be getting better at it. If you have questions, if I can help you, please come for office hours. I will see you in class. Bye, students.